And good morning, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood trash man. Back to discuss what's been happening at the annual league meetings. There's one more day of them, but already we see that some things have changed and some things have not. One thing that has not is the notorious tush push. The move spearheaded by the Philadelphia Eagles on their Super Bowl run, and before then, really. This hasn't been the first year they've done it, for certain. But it needed 24 votes to ban the tush push. The Green Bay Packers spearheaded the ban. And it only got 16. So half of the NFL teams voted to ban the tush push. And that's not enough. You need 75% of the teams, or 24 of them, to vote on something to get it to pass. And they didn't get it. Not for the tush push. So it'll be tabled for now. You know, the Eagles get a consecutive Super Bowl appearance and or victory. It's probably going to be on the table again next year. And it might just pass then. But for now, the tush push stays. Eagles fans can breathe a sigh of disgust, as they are wont to do regardless of whether the news is good or not. But good for the Eagles, I guess, and good for anybody else who, and I discussed this the other day as well. Maybe some more teams will actually implement the tush push, use it as a tool. Some of the teams with the bigger quarterbacks, I could see the Bills doing it with Josh Allen. Seeing other teams implement the tush push to see and to show the teams that didn't vote to ban it that maybe it should be. Or maybe it'll be something that the NFL just embraces. Maybe it'll be something that we start to see across the league on a week-to-week basis. More touchdowns for your quarterbacks. That's not a bad thing, necessarily. But some things did change, as I said. One of them being the NFL owners approved a proposal to align the league's postseason and regular season overtime rules. So in other words, the rules for overtime in the postseason now apply to the rules overtime in the regular season. That means that both sides, both teams, get a chance to possess the ball at least once in overtime. They'll remain 10 minutes long, so I guess, it's a shortened quarter, but you're still getting another quarter of football, basically. So it lengthens the game for certain. I guess leaves even more chance that there will be a draw at the end that'll end up being a tie anyway. So playing more football for naught. From a fantasy perspective, it's not a bad thing. more opportunity for fantasy points for your fantasy players. You know, giving you a last gasp of hope in whatever game goes to overtime. I guess you can rest a little easier knowing that your player will get an opportunity to touch the ball, do some damage, get some points in overtime, because both teams are going to get a possession from here on out. So that was a rule change. It's not the only one. Touchbacks are being brought up to the 35-yard line. Hopefully, in the league's opinion, giving more chance for returns and fantasy points that way. You know, maybe we see some more return yardage leagues pop up this season. Maybe it lends more credence to having a return yardage league. We'll see. Doesn't move the needle as much. I guess it does. You know, more returns, better chances at better returns, getting in better position to start your drive, ultimately leading to more points, more fantasy points. That's what we want, right? More touchdowns scored, more chances to score touchdowns, more field goals kicked. So in essence, it would be a boon for fantasy. It will be a boon, bringing touchbacks up to the 35-yard line. It's not the only thing, though. The owners also approved bringing Sony's Hawkeye technology to spot the ball in 2025. So no more referees squinting with their ever-aging eyes, looking at each other, wondering where the ball should be, where to put it, where they thought it'd go down on the field. No. Sony's Hawkeye technology, and hopefully, you know, Sony doesn't have a dog in the fight, will determine where the ball is spotted, or at least assist in it. It's not a bad thing. I'm not sure what kind of latency we're going to have between when the play ends and when the spot is called, but more accurate spots, less reasons for fans to complain. That's not a bad thing. Also, instant replay assist is being expanded. So we're coming towards a more perfect game, right? We're inching towards a more perfect game, inching towards a more perfect singularity. Less human error involved. The Immaculate Reception would not exist in this world. Will not exist in this world. Missed calls soon to be a thing of the past. Allegedly. And as AI creeps ever so slowly towards its role as our dominant overlords, then, you know, at least we'll have a good game. Where's John Connor when you need him? Morning, Terminal Sarcasm. Thanks for saying hey. It's not the only thing that changed, though, over the past couple days. The owners, they're going wild. They're also on a trial basis, allowing free agents more contact with teams during the 2-day negotiation period. Maybe that results in more signings. Maybe that results in better deals for the players. Maybe not. The team so readily approved it. All of these things seem pretty good to me. You know, I do wish they had banned the tush push. But everything else flies with me from a fantasy perspective. Games are going to be longer. Maybe longer time in between plays, but maybe we'll get more of the plays right. And that's really what matters, right? So kudos to Roger Goodell and the NFL owners bringing what we hope is a better product to the masses. Terminal Sarcasm asks, Hawkeye can tell us where the ball went and came to rest, but how is it going to determine when the ball carrier is down? Well, hopefully that's what the referees are still for. So there'll be a chance for human error to rear its head there. But I imagine if it's, got a good side on the ball, it'll probably have a good side on the part of the body that touches the ground first in relation to the ball. I mean, I don't think it's going to be more difficult to determine when the ball carrier is down. I think it just may take more of the onus off of the referee to place the ball so they can look and see where the player touches down first. So it takes one plate out of their hands and lets them focus on, fewer things, which is arguably better for football. At least that's what I'm surmising. So we'll see. We'll see if anything else pops up. But for now, those are the results of the annual NFL meeting. As far as rule changes go. More scuttlebutt, though, from the NFL owners and coaches. ESPN's Kevin Seifert reports Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell has held multiple conversations with Aaron Rodgers this offseason. No word as to what those conversations were about. It might have been just a lot of Aaron Rodgers, trying to gather whether O'Connell is a lizard person or not. But maybe it was about football. Rodgers and O'Connell spoke multiple times, and O'Connell relayed those conversations to key decision makers. Okay. A decision has not been made, at least in favor of bringing Rodgers in. the conversation probably went a lot like this. Aaron Rodgers saying, I'm not going to be a backup. If I'm going in there, I'm going to be the starter. And J.J. McCartney, or whatever you call him, he's going to be my backup. And you're not going to put him in the season if I start to flounder. This is my team now. I am the captain. And then he lets go of O'Connell's collar. But the Vikings aren't out completely, at least from what we can tell. But I think they're in no rush to sign Rodgers. So I think they want to see what they have in McCarthy. They want to see if he's going to be healthy or how he's going with getting healthy. They want to see if he can helm that offense consistently, confidently. And if they know that, then if they're confident in that, then perhaps they won't bring Aaron Rodgers in. I don't think they should. I think Aaron Rodgers should retire and probably stay retired. I think what we saw with the Jets is probably about as good as it's going to get from Rodgers from this point on. I think it'd be a mistake to bring him to Minnesota, have him play over McCarthy, and have another year of not knowing if McCarthy is your guy. Because that's what you want to know. That's what you want to find out. The Colts haven't taken that route. They'll have another season of waffling on Richardson, and at the end of it, still not knowing whether he's the guy or not. But also having Daniel Jones there and knowing that he's not your guy, but still having him on there anyway. The Vikings hopefully don't do that. Hopefully they do bring in a veteran who's okay with holding a clipboard for the majority of the season and letting J.J. McCarthy, develop into an NFL quarterback, potentially a good one. Speaking of quarterbacks, and potentially good ones, or at least better than the ones that they have currently, it's been reported that it would not be surprising to see Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins land with the Browns, according to The Athletic's Diana Rossini. Cousins can't be happy being the backup in Atlanta. He wants to be a starter somewhere, and he could be the starter somewhere. He knows that. That's what Cousins does. He gets signed as a starter somewhere, eventually flounders, and moves on and does it again elsewhere. This is Kirk Cousins' script. Time and time again. And it's not over yet. He's going to get another big contract from another floundering team. And he's going to play just well enough to give them hope. And that team this year may be the Browns. And honestly, I don't hate it. I hate what the Browns have now. I hate that Kenny Pickett is arguably the best quarterback on their roster. Maybe inarguably. Kirk Cousins coming to the Browns, that's best case scenario for them. Honestly, I might rather Kirk Cousins than Aaron Rodgers to a team right now. I think Kirk Cousins better than Aaron Rodgers right now if you squint. He's certainly better than any of the quarterbacks that the Browns currently have. And the thing is, even if the Browns draft a quarterback, Cousins can still be the starter there in Cleveland. I feel like it could only be a good move for Cousins. And for the Browns, I mean, really any move. Bringing in Keanu Reeves. Or is it Dennis Quaid from The Replacements? I don't remember. That was a good movie, though. That'd probably be a better move for the Browns. The Replacement players. Anybody remember that one? Wasn't Gene Hackman in that? Am I totally making this up? Gene Hackman, rest in peace. I think that was Keanu. I think Dennis Quaid. What was that other? Was it on this with Necessary Roughness? I get my 90s, early 2000s football movies mixed up sometimes, except for any given Sunday. That's the best one. Hands down. Oliver Stone, Jamie Foxx, Al Pacino. You really can't go wrong there. It's an entertaining movie, if nothing else. In relation to the Browns, in direct relation to the Browns, well, actually, let's pivot there. I'm going to talk more about the Vikings. I just noticed this. We're talking about things that Kevin O'Connell said anyways. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell said running back Jordan Mason will complement Aaron Jones as a 1B in the Vikings backfield. Bad news for Aaron Jones, potentially. Although, when you hear the word complement, the implication is that it's a good thing. It's probably a good thing for the Vikings offense at large, having Mason and Jones as a 1-2 punch. But it lessens Aaron Jones's chances to score touchdowns. Jordan Mason being the bigger, more bullish back, more likely to have success at the goal line, you would think. O'Connell emphasized that Jones excelled in a 1A, 1B backfield structure. I guess it's not untrue that this has pretty much been part of Jones's script all along. He continued that Mason will bring something to the table in short yardage situations and goal line scenarios, as I said. Meanwhile, Jones will be used in more early down, third down, and passing down situations. What it looks like here is that both of these backs could have standalone value in fantasy, and that you can get value on Jordan Mason in drafts because he's going to be drafted probably well after Aaron Jones. But with that touchdown equity, they might end up scoring close to the same fantasy points coming into the season. Unless you're in a PPR. Well, you probably are, to some extent at least. But it does validate Jordan Mason's fantasy potential in 2025. So Jordan Mason has to be somebody that we watch. Because he's going to get some opportunities there in Minnesota. Especially if J.J. McCarthy's under center. They're going to take the onus off the quarterback, give it to their running backs as much as possible. Cody here saying Trashman on a heater today. Actually, I'm not on it. It's kind of warm here already. I don't need a heater to sit on. Maybe if it was February in Austin, Texas. Some good news for the Chiefs. More good news. The rich getting richer. Chiefs coach Andy Reid said Rashee Rice is on track to be ready for training camp. Rice tore his LCL in week 4 of last season. Early compared to a lot of other players who tore their knees last season. And now when you look at the Chiefs receiving core, they got Hollywood Brown back. They got Xavier Worthy. Looks like he's back. Looks like it completely. And then you got Rice there. That's a pretty stout receiving core. Only now in Patrick Mahomes' tenure do they actually have a full complement of talented receivers, at least wide receivers, for him to throw the ball to. But, with the kind of efficient ball that the Chiefs play or have played until now, does that allow for 3 consistently producing fantasy receivers? I don't know. Rice becomes the primary option of that group in the red zone. Brown and Worthy, probably come up to his chin. Probably his nose, but you know what I mean. They're smaller guys. And Worthy has a nose for the end zone for a smaller receiver, but Rice is definitely more of an option in the end zone. So you got Rice potentially scoring more touchdowns, but Brown and Worthy having bigger and brighter plays. Although Rice could be more of the chain mover too. Right now, I wouldn't argue against Rice leading the team in catches if he's healthy come week 1 as the primary chain mover. So it's good news for Rice and his potential owners and the Chiefs offense. In more football news, Tennessee is unsure if they have conviction on the first pick of the draft, of the 2025 draft. Around the league, it seems unsure that the Titans are committed on taking Cam Ward with their first pick or taking the first pick themselves. I think they may have what I call paralysis by analysis. I'm not the only one who calls it that. I'm sure it's called that by a lot of people. It happens to me. So many decisions that you can make, not sure what the best one is, and then you make none at all. The Titans have done bupkis with their drafts recently. Yeah, if I'd made some of the choices that they have in recent years, I'd probably be wary and unsure of the pick I was going to make too. The thing is, there's not as much pressure on the Titans now because nobody's expecting them to do much. Nobody's expecting them to win. So, why not swing for the fences? Why not swing for what could be a potential franchise quarterback for you? Why not just go ahead and do it? Why not just go ahead and pull that trigger? Because it's not like you can do that much worse. Stay tuned for Cody and Alex the next few hours. They'll probably go more in depth on some of these new league rules. Combining insights for what could be numerous pearls of wisdom. Until then, this has been the Trash Man on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.